We will begin with the Healthcare Administration Student Forum and UPD's second general meeting. Welcome, everybody. I hope you guys have been having a good week. Hope you guys been having, I hope you guys been dry. It's been really rainy today, and I hope you guys stay safe and stay warm. So we have our three speakers, which all are Healthcare Administration alum. And we are joined by, I'm sorry for the pronunciations if I get it wrong. We're joined by Jaranilla, or I'm so sorry. But we're joined with Glad and Larisa, and and a little bit later, we'll be joined with Carissa as well. And I just want to give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves, a little bit of your background and why you're here today. Larisa, do you mind starting off?
Sure. So, hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Larisa Simmons, and I currently work as a project coordinator for Optum. I graduated the Healthcare Administration program back in 2020, and I joined Optum in this role in 2021. Nice to meet everyone.
Glad, you're more than welcome to start.
Great. Thank you, Kimberly. Hey, everyone. Good evening. Glad Jaranilla.
Thank you.
I also graduated back in 2018, undergrad for health administration. I, in fact, also am back at Cal State Long Beach for the accelerated program for the MHA. And I'm currently a senior project manager for Optum California with our performance improvement and quality improvement team. And yeah, just excited to be here and support the community. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're more than welcome to have you guys, and we truly appreciate it. We're really excited to hear about what you guys do. Your backgrounds and your current positions are super interesting, and I know personally I have so many questions. So let us start off with Glad. So what would you, or let me just remind everyone, today's topic is what to do with my healthcare administration degree, as a lot of students seem to feel lost, or they don't know the direction that they want to go in, since healthcare administration can be very broad and also very specific. So we're just trying to help our members find the right path for them. So Glad, what would you recommend students do if they are interested in project management, as that is your background and current position? Like, what skills are most important for developing?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Kimberly. So, and thanks for the prompts prior, by the way, that really helps me prepare. So that's an excellent question. I was saying I'm a project manager, but I guess to really put that into context, like it didn't happen overnight. So to answer Kim's question, just a background of what my role is. So project manager, really in any setting, but specifically in healthcare, you must be someone that understands the context of the problem and figure out who the right stakeholders are, who your right subject matter experts are within the organization that you can leverage. And, as a PM, I use that term a lot, is, your job is to really identify the problem and bring the organization or a team or a group of teams into synergies so that you get into this ideal solution state. And then, so skills, what could that look like? So really my biggest thing is you all are students that can benefit from, a lot of free things that the campus already gives you. So invest in yourself really and take advantage of all the resources that's already in place that maybe we didn't invest enough time yet to take advantage of. So you have learning resources on campus. LinkedIn Learning is one of those things. There's so many free courses at your helm that you can really take advantage of and understand, one, what is healthcare like outside of the classroom setting, and being, understanding, okay, what are transferable skills? So transferable skills that you can really take anywhere, and then apply that to the role. And so, number one is really invest in yourself for sure. And if you're trying to get into a project management type of role, upskill yourself with whatever you think you know now, and supplement that with resources that's available to you. Again, LinkedIn Learning is great. If you don't want to do that, there's YouTube University and Google University. But definitely, LinkedIn Learning is definitely a good spot to start.
Yeah, thank you. And I've noticed that our third speaker, Carissa, is here. Thank you for coming. Hope you've been warm. If you don't mind, please introducing yourself, a little bit of your background and why you're here today.
Hi guys, can you hear me okay? I apologize and you guys will laugh. I'm actually in my car because I was actually off site today for work, and so couldn't get back into the my home office in time, and so here I am. And so I'm going to turn my camera off, and I apologize for that. Usually I'm on Zoom and we'll have it on.
We
So my
thank you for
name's
your dedication, though. We truly appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. So my name's Carissa Green. I was actually part of the healthcare administration. I graduated back in 2000 and so long ago, you guys, 2002. And absolutely love having these forums. And so thanks for having me. I think it's always beneficial. Would love to hear your questions. And so a little bit about my background. I've been in the healthcare industry since I graduated. I started my career if you guys, I'm going to go way back. There was a company called Pacific Care way long ago, and it was a health plan that was purchased by United Healthcare back in 2006. So I started my career there actually right after graduation. And so what I did is I was a technical writer initially, writing policies and procedures. And it was just a good foot in just to get more exposure, and then decided, I'm more of an extrovert. And so definitely wasn't a good place for me to be in operations. And so I actually moved over to marketing. I did a lot of marketing campaigns within Pacific here. And then I moved over to product development. And so I think Glad was talking about project management. So I did a lot of project management as well. Six Sigma, I was trained in Six Sigma, did project management for a couple of years, and then found when I was in product development that I was actually going out in the field with our sales and client management team, talking about products, new development that we're doing, and really found an interest in going out to the market and really talking to different companies and organizations. And I thought it was really interesting because it gives you a different landscape about what healthcare is really about. Sometimes I feel like we're really insulated in what we're learning in school, and a lot of what we do, even with healthcare administration, it has more to do with, perhaps hospitals and facilities. And so this is a really new dynamic about healthcare and really being able to see it from a broader perspective. And so within product development, I had a new opportunity actually, and I was out there in the field doing a lot of presentations and public speaking in front of people. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up moving into our health services team, and I was a director of health and wellness. And so what I did was then start going out to companies and start building wellness and health management programs for them on behalf of the company. And so it was during that time when we were acquired. Pacific Care was then acquired by United Healthcare. United Healthcare, if you're familiar, is part of the broader organization under United Health Group. GLAD is actually one of them, and through Optum, the subsidiary under the United Health Group umbrella, which is a large organization. They're actually a Forbes top 5. So they're the largest health plan that we have from a national perspective. And so actually decided to leave. It was kind of random, but I got a call when I was out in the field by Mercer, which is a consulting firm, and they said, "Hey, listen, we've heard you, we've talked, we've met you a couple of times. Would you be interested in coming on the Mercer side?" And so left Pacific Care when they were getting acquired and actually moved to Mercer as a health and wellness consultant. Decided, I think after, I don't know, 7 or 8 months that I was definitely more in the health plan side, just what I preferred within my career and my growth. And so I moved back over to United Healthcare. And so that's where I started my opportunity in sales. I actually became an account executive, managing clients at that point. So managing large base public sector groups. These are school districts, just a variation of different clients within the public sector segment. Really enjoyed it. Learned that within my client management experience, I actually also really enjoyed sales. So being able to upsell clients that we had into our new products, new services, and then moved my way up to the organization and actually ended up being the vice president of public sector sales for the state of California. And so at that point, within that segment, you're going after big cities, big counties, opportunities within the organization that would
Mhm.
bring in, upwards of $300 or $400 million in revenue.
Yeah.
And so that was really my career trajectory in United Healthcare, and then decided to try consulting again. And so I actually left United Healthcare back in 2018 and then joined Gallagher Benefit Services, which is another consulting firm, as an area vice president. And so out there again in the field, going out and bringing clients in to try to sell our products and services on the consulting side. And then quite frankly, at that point, I was doing a lot more public sector and wanted to grow my career into something outside of public sector. And so I had a really great opportunity at Blue Shield of California to actually go beyond public sector and manage national accounts. And so a lot of the accounts I manage now from a sales perspective are very known national accounts that are actually really cool. So it's a different perspective in healthcare, because what you have in this role and what I do is really understanding the healthcare landscape, but really being able to merge that into different organizations and then learning about the new organizations that you're managing. And so it's a lot of fun. I love it for various aspects. I think one is it's just being out there in the field. And as
Mhm.
we all know, healthcare in general is a changing landscape, one that's constant, whether it's, from a compliance perspective and what CMS is driving on change to new products and solutions that clients want. I always think it's really interesting to be out there in the market, because what the
Yeah.
market does is drives what you need to do differently in healthcare. And so that's really my trajectory and my background in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds like you've had a very, very exciting and eventful career. I can't wait to ask you more questions. But to further on, Larissa, so I've looked at your resume. Thank you for providing it. And you also have a very extensive career as well. And I wanted to pick your brain about it. So what led you to the career of project coordinator in specifically risk adjustment? And is that something you've always wanted? Is that something you stumbled upon, or you felt like you just found the right area?
So the current role I have, I actually got very lucky. It is something that I did stumble upon. Well, it wasn't necessarily something that I found on my own. I actually had the help of a recruiter from this recruiting firm called Insight Global. A lot of my friends, especially because we were like COVID graduates, a lot of us had trouble landing and securing jobs right after graduation. So I had a friend working for Memorial Care as a temporary contract admin assistant. And he said, hey, I have a recruiter who you can send your resume to, give him a little introduction of yourself and let him know what you're looking for. So at the time, I was actually working another job as an executive assistant for a CEO, which was, I know it sounds kind of scary, but it was a smaller company. We actually have an internship contract with them. So some of you are probably familiar with the company. It's called ADAP, the Asian American Drug Abuse Program. So I was doing that job prior to this job. It was a temporary contract as well. I actually wasn't too fond of the job just because there were a lot of things that I felt I wasn't a good fit for. Also, it's kind of a long commute, and just having to work directly under a CEO was very stressful. So I kind of felt this wasn't the right direction for me. So I was also trying my best to kind of look around, see what's there. And because this was around 2021, I was still having trouble trying to find another job, trying to secure something. So that's why I reached out to Insight Global. And they're the ones that found me this. It was actually a temporary assignment, temp to hire. So what they do is certain departments within Optum, they prefer to do the whole temp to hire so that they can see if this candidate is a good fit. So luckily for me, the team really liked me. So I was brought on permanently 3 months into the contract. It was supposed to be a 6-month contract, but it was at first a little bit confusing just because they were telling me, oh, this is a business analyst position. And then they tell me, oh, it's a project coordinator position. But at this point, I was kind of in that point of my career where I was like, you know what, I'll take it. It's something I can learn about. My only, I don't want to call it a drawback because I know a lot of students, they kind of feel as if their lack of experience is going to hold them back. That's not the case. You definitely want to speak on every kind of experience that you have in order to give the team a feel for how you are as a worker. And for me, I'm very like learning driven. I like to express eagerness to learning new things. So they really liked that. They liked my enthusiasm. They said, "Oh, you're like really excited about this position." I'm like, "Yes, I am. There's a lot I can learn because, like for example, I didn't know how to use an EMR system prior to this role. I didn't know much about risk adjustment, Medicare Advantage, CMS, that kind of stuff. But because I was expressing all of that eagerness to learn, they were like, "Okay, I think this is a good fit." So I know a lot of students were probably or are probably currently in the current situation that I was in. They're not quite sure what they want to do. I would say take any chance that you can find and just make the best of it if you're not as experienced. I feel like this is probably a good entry level job for those who don't have that much experience in like healthcare administration in general. So being a project coordinator, I don't think it's too difficult of a job. I know when I tell people, "Oh, you do project coordinator," that sounds kind of difficult. It's not. It's something I would highly recommend in various aspects, whether it's healthcare or even other industries, just because a lot of the skills you gain on the job are transferable. So, for example, in my job, I would say a lot of the transferable skills that I learned are like data analysis, project management, provider relations. So being able to connect with various providers within Optum. But there's still a lot that I need to learn. Like I said, I only graduated about 3 years ago, but don't be afraid to make that step. And don't be daunted by, "Oh, I don't have enough experience," or "I don't have any experience in this." If you show that you're eager to learn, and if you show enthusiasm for what the role has, I think you'll be more set. And just make sure you show a lot of confidence when you're doing the interview. That'll definitely push you forward.
Yeah, I totally agree, Larissa. I do truly do think that your perspective and also how you advocate for yourself can truly change how you enter a job position. You may be totally unqualified,
Mhm.
but if you are so eager to learn and you take that opportunity or take that leap of faith, whatever you want to call it, you can really show what you got. So I agree. Thank you, Larissa. Glad, I actually have one more question for you. What do you think companies look for in newly graduated students? And what would you look for if you had that role?
Okay, this is an excellent question and a bit of a loaded one. So, I also manage a team. It's a bit of a niche because I do manage pharmacy technicians in my current role. My role somehow mixes the business and the clinical side of things. And by trade, I'm actually a pharmacy technician. But to answer your question, the hard truth, right, is really that companies will always look for experience. And companies will always look for, their first impression of you will always be that piece of paper. So that piece of paper, which is your resume. So to follow up that comment, you always, when you're writing your resumes, always highlight the results of your work and not just what you're doing. So like, don't copy paste like your current job description, basically, but really highlight the results of the work that you're doing. So I know maybe some of you are in internships now, so it's beyond just supporting the department, but what did you do in the department that resulted in this? So quantify something if you can, and that'll really help you stand out. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. All righty. And then Carissa, I have just another small question for you. When looking at your background and from your intro, you have a really big background in client relationships, and that is very integral in healthcare administration and just building relationships in general with your peers, your directors, your fellow staff, do you have any tips on how to build those relationships and also client relationships as well?
I think networking is really important. I will say the jobs that I ended up getting out of college was actually through my network. And so, even though your resume and your accomplishments and even through internships, I mean, those are great, but I will tell you, I was a skeptic when I was in college because I always said to myself, no, it's the quality of your work and who you are as a person versus your network. And I will say every single opportunity that I got early in my career was literally a network that I had through college, whether it was through healthcare administration. Tom Kanago was actually one of my professors, and we ended up working in the same organization together. And then I was in a sorority at Cal State Long Beach. And so some of my sorority sisters are actually in organizations with me. And so when I wanted to move over, for example, in product development, it was actually my network through my sorority sister that got me in with a hiring manager and that recommended me, even though my experience in that product side was limited. The credibility about having somebody to refer you is really important. And so I would recommend that, through internships, there's a lot of consulting firms that do summer internships. That's a good way to network. Networking events, whether it's through the healthcare administration, but even outside of the department that you're in, I would recommend that you really get yourself involved, outside of your department and within the organization, even at Cal State Long Beach. And so whether that's a sorority, fraternity, different organizations, student organizations, I would recommend that you do that, because one day you will run into one of your networks where you can leverage them, whether it's directly through a role that you want or maybe some insight within the company that you want to be a part of, I think is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I if I could jump in, I do want to echo that networking is so key. I also did not get my role without a network. And it's also from someone from HCA. So yeah, it's definitely important.
Yeah. Even attending meetings like this, guys, don't be afraid to just shoot them a message. Say, hey, I love to hear you speak. Sound great. Can I get to know you? Can I have an informational meeting? What do you do? Don't be afraid. We're all students here. So you have that opportunity and that right to say, I would like to get to know you in your position and see what I can do, see my path. So
right. And one thing I will say, if you don't mind, Kimberly, I'll add is if you haven't done so already, I would recommend that you even create a LinkedIn profile, even as a college student, because what you can do is you can connect with your professors, or you can connect with different colleagues, and then that extension just runs and runs and runs. And so let's say you want to work for a certain company. I mean, you'll be amazed about how many people are connected, whether it's 1 or 2 levels between your connections and the introductions that they could make to get you into that. And so I would recommend, even if you haven't, if you're just getting ready to graduate or you're still, in college at this point, then I would recommend that, you create a LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, thank you. Larissa, so Glad mentioned a little bit before that experience is what companies look for. And for students with little work experience before their internships or prior to their internships, what can they do to maintain or gain a competitive edge? Should they volunteer, join associations? I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but networking. But any ways that they can gain a competitive edge?
Yeah, definitely. So fun fact, I was actually the secretary for UPD, and I was the secretary for HCAN. So those are two, really big networking organizations within campus.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, so I actually went through 2 internships, but because of COVID, that was kind of up in the air. My first one was at Kaiser. That was only about a month, and then COVID shut everything down. But the second one, so I don't know if you guys are still familiar with College Bowl. We actually had an in-person College Bowl championship on campus, and I saw it as a networking event. I didn't see it as, the competition just yet, but there were some external, like, I forgot what they're called, but there were people from outside organizations coming to attend as well. One of them being the executive director of the Community Hospital of Long Beach. So he was there and he made an announcement at the event saying, hey, I have a paid internship opportunity for any students who are interested. And like, you just see like scrambling around the room. Everyone's like, oh my God. But funny thing, I was the only one that had a resume on them. Like
On
I had a
hand?
physical copy on
Wow.
hand and no one else did. So carry around your resume. But that definitely helped out a lot. I don't even know if he considered anyone else, but they were like, oh, can I see the job description? Like I had students coming up to me like, oh, how did you, so not that, I mean, it was a pretty rare situation, but having your resume on hand and having like your elevator pitch memorized is something that'll definitely help you out in the long run. Joining organizations is definitely a good one. I have a lot of great connections with HCAN, that's the Healthcare Administration Alumni Network. To be more competitive, I think this circles back to just being more confident. Because I feel like I've been on the recruiting side as well, and people that are, showing a lot of confidence in what they do and also a lot of passion for what they do, they're the ones that are more likely to get the job. But for those that have like little experience, even in like your non-healthcare jobs. So for me, I worked at the dining hall on campus. I used a lot of those like people skills and I kind of just spoke on those. And that's kind of what helped me secure my internships and then eventually my full-time jobs. So even if it's not healthcare related, you can take like anything like customer service, leadership positions, things like that. You can just talk about those and that'll definitely give you that competitive edge if you don't have that healthcare experience, because a lot of my classmates didn't have healthcare experience. And if they did, it was kind of like entry-level front desk kind of stuff. So that still closely relates to a lot of, I'd say, entry-level jobs that a lot of college students have. Volunteering as well. There's a lot of healthcare organizations within campus. So take advantage of those. And yeah, that's all I can think of for now.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm glad. Actually, my next question was for you. Larissa also shared some of her challenges when starting a new position, but for your current position, what was an aspect of your job that you were not prepared for, or you felt like you needed a little bit more help? How did you go about that? Because I know it's really nerve-wracking for when you get a new job and you feel like you want to do your best, and so you feel like not being your best is detrimental to you.
Yeah, that's I guess that's a imposter syndrome almost. A more understandable term for this audience. But that's an excellent question, and I will say, I think anyone maybe at any point in their career could be a victim to like that sort of thinking. But definitely, one of the key things for me is being honest with my leader. So whoever I'm directly reporting up to, being honest with your leader is definitely key. So if something is unclear, ask for clarification. If you're not sure what the right next step is, ask for guidance. If you are experiencing challenges, ask for that support. And to kind of build upon that, if you feel like you could do something more, then ask for a seat at the table to get those opportunities. Larissa was talking about, being eager and being, enthusiastic with trying to learn more and be the best piece of the team as much as you can, or be like the best person in this role as best as you can. Just be honest with your leader, and as leaders see that, they're gonna want to keep you and augment and supplement that eagerness that you'll have. So yeah.
And that kind of leads into my next question from that is, what did you gain from being in that situation? So you gained respect from your leader?
I would say so. So far, my honesty hasn't backfired on me. Yeah, and I think what it's helped, what it has done for me, it painted a picture of myself as as someone that really wants to think on his feet, wants to learn more. And if the opportunity arises, an opportunity to lead. So when I started my role, I was an individual contributor, meaning I was the bottom of the totem pole, and I asking and asking and asking for that seat at the table, and that showed to them that I was eager for more. And now I have to manage people. uh, and so it works out as long as definitely you show the enthusiasm in wanting to do more and learn more and do good.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Carissa, I have a question for you. What are some ideal starting career or positions or pathways for a new grad? Is there one that you see a trend that most graduate students or most recent grad students gravitate towards?
I will say that I have a pretty unique path, right? I don't think you see many coming out of healthcare administration doing just client management and going directly into just a more external role. And I think that I would say this, that there's a lot that you can do with your degree. There's absolutely a lot. I think even more so than what maybe you're learning in school today. You can do a lot. You can get into consulting. That's a big one, especially the way the healthcare spectrum and horizon is at this point, because there's so many changes and so many nuances that's happening with what we're doing, and the changes, anywhere from, new drugs coming to the market to new regulations on transparency. There's so much that I think that you would be surprised at the opportunities that you would have outside of just the administration aspect. So, the degree that you're going to get is healthcare administration, but your expertise and what you learn is so much more broad, and you can do so much with your career. And I think I would say that I'm a product of one of those, because I went from wellness, health services, to consulting, to operations, to marketing, product development, to now client management and sales. There's a lot that you can do with your degree. And really, I would say you want to leverage your wants, right? Where's your strong points? Are you more analytical? If you're more analytical, then maybe find another role within that's going to give your strengths, right? So you can even look at yourself now and what you're doing in school and say, where are my strengths? And then how can I leverage those strengths to go after what I want to do within my career? And I was certainly a lot more external. I was an extrovert through college. I loved getting involved. Even the HCA, I was president of the HCA for I think 2 years when I was in college. I just love being out there. And so I think my role today is fitting, but it took a lot of different steps to find that. And so you can do a lot with your degree. There's a lot that you can do. So just don't focus on just the administration aspect, right? Everybody thinks healthcare administration is hospital administration or plan administration. There's so much you can do, even on the consulting side. If you decided you want to work for a consulting firm, you can certainly do that as well.
Yeah, Carissa, just to bounce off of what you're saying, there's healthcare administration is so broad. And I think that's what is a little scary for a lot of students, because they don't know what to expect. There's a lot of, even within different job positions, there's different expectations. And this is to all the speakers, a question that you guys can answer. What should college, or what should healthcare administrators expect when going into their new first job or their new role as healthcare administrators?
That's a pretty that's a loaded question. And so really
a lot of loaded questions. I'm sorry.
No, it's great. It's great. I'm glad where you're thinking. I think being able to understand your role going into it to begin with, right? And I think having the confidence within yourself to be able to really just speak up and say, what are your objectives and your expectations, right? Because I think what we find, and I will tell you, my direct experience was, we would get the comments when I was new, like you're just new, you don't have as much experience. But don't doubt yourself, because your experience in school, what you're doing, your internships, there's so many things that you can do. And I will say that your classes that you're probably taking today are a lot different than what I probably took 20 years ago. But I will say that, you know, having your own confidence to go out there and be able to really talk to whoever is hiring you, to whoever your manager is at that point, to be able to understand those objectives and get those expectations. And I will say this too, as a new graduate going into a job, being able to also set a path for yourself. And so not being shy about wanting growth, right? And so when you take on these roles, don't take it on just as a job, take it on as, where do I want to grow from this role and what do I want to take out of it? That's going to be the most important. I know that when you go out and you just want to find a job, but at the end of the day, your experiences is what's going to captivate what your next role is going to be. And so being able to leverage what you want to do, find those roles that's going to help you get to where you need to be.
Yeah, that is great. Thank you. Glad you were going to say something.
Yeah, thanks. Definitely piggybacking off of what Carissa just said or shared. You know, yes, healthcare is like a giant puzzle. And a coordinator job posting here could look and sound totally different than a coordinator job posting at like a different organization. So it really starts with, you know, conducting almost like a current state assessment. Okay, I took all these classes. I'm great at this class. I'm not so great at this, maybe. So that helps you kind of, you know, steer yourself to what path you kind of want to go to. Carissa has great experience under her belt, so it's like understanding whether are you an extrovert, are you a people person, and would you be comfortable, you know, in operations or something, or in, you know, managing a whole team, or are you analytical and you'd rather, you know, look at data and numbers all the time or something like that. So it's really, it starts with you, right? Conduct that current state assessment with yourself and figure out where you think that puts you in the healthcare puzzle. Healthcare is ginormous, it's huge, but the network is small. So it's important to start with yourself so that, you know, you're setting yourself up for success. And then just like tips on like looking for jobs, definitely, you know, use terms like coordinators, you know, project analysts, that kind of thing, customer service, quality improvement. Those kinds of things definitely will help. There's a lot of jobs, as Larisa's own experience, you know, there's other supports in place that can help you, you know, land that first role and then, you know, build up from there.
Yeah, and I just one final thought, and I apologize, you guys. I think my battery is running low, so it might throw me off. And so the one thing I will say that I learned within my career, and what you guys should take out of this when you're out there looking for companies, and what no one taught me, and you just learn as you progress, and I'm sure Glad can tell you and Larissa can tell you, the company you join, I will say, you need to understand their culture, who they are as an organization. Are they going to foster your growth? I think culture is a really big deal, and it's bigger now than ever. And so whatever organization you decide to move into, just watch out for the culture. Understand the culture. And is that culture something that fits with you? And is that the culture you want to be part of? Because I can tell you, and you know, my experience with different companies and different organizations, culture is such a big deal, not just for you and your growth as a person, but really the folks that are behind you that's going to want to develop and grow you within your career. And so just watch out for that. So when you're out there interviewing, just try to understand the culture along with understanding the role that you want to be in, because that's going to be really important.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting the advice of a self-reflection is needed before applying to jobs. That's something that I may have to do before applying. Larissa, do you have any comment on that question?
Yeah, so fun fact, I actually am in the market at the moment, but I'm actually in that part where I'm kind of also trying to self-discover myself. There's been a lot that I've been working on to try to figure out what exactly it is I want to do after project coordinator. So I have been considering the project management route. Fun fact also, Glad he connected with me internally because we both work with Optum. So we have a meeting set up. So networking, yes.
That's networking happening, you guys.
Yeah.
So it's important.
Yeah. So I'd say because I know I'm also kind of like I'm kind of more recent grad compared to Glad and Carissa. So I would just say, yeah, try to figure out what exactly it is that you like to do, what you don't like to do. I actually have a list of things that I'm not such a big fan of, and that can apply to company culture as well, as Carissa was saying. Um, there's actually a role I turned down because I noticed that the company had like a not so good reputation. So, don't be afraid to say no if there's ever a situation where you're kind of like, you know what, I kind of don't feel good about this one. My gut's telling me no. Um, the right opportunity will come with time. So don't, put yourself down for saying no or anything like that. But yeah, try to figure out what it is that you like to do and see how your current skill set can translate into like a certain department. So for example, I've been looking a lot into like finance and quality assurance. So I'm kind of seeing like what my current skill set can take me to go into that sort of field. But yeah, I think that's all I have for that question.
Thank you. My next question, and glad you're more than welcome to speak on this. How do you market yourself as a person who is transitioning from a different position? Let's say you want to switch career paths from quality assurance to emergency management. How would you use your transferable skills, and even transferable skills that you don't think are relevant? Like, I know a lot of students have voiced concerns of, oh, I just waited tables during college. How can I apply that to becoming a healthcare administrator? Like, how can you market yourself, especially when you may have a totally different skill set?
An excellent question, and this kind of seeps into like, how do I properly write that piece of paper that's gonna, represent me as a submission? I think is always seek for help. So, for example, I didn't start as a project manager. I came on as my previous roles were in retail. Also, I was a pharmacy technician. But let me just start with, healthcare is a people-centered space. Your stakeholders always end up being persons, so patients. So any soft skills, so delineate the hard skills versus the soft skills. Hard skills, you can always teach somebody. You can go on YouTube and figure out how to learn something new. Soft skills are definitely something that's harder to teach and almost sometimes impossible to teach. So if you feel like, oh, I only waited tables, or I only, I don't know, worked in a department store or whatever, a clothing store, those are soft skills that already put you up over an edge compared to other people. So the next piece of that is, as you're taking those things down, writing those things down on your resume, seek for help, seek for guidance. So ask a peer to kind of take a look at, how does this look? Does it sound like it's making sense on my resume? As you continue to refine it. That I know that's definitely helped me. When I first asked for my PM role, I had, I think, like a dozen people look at my resume to just make sure that it looked as good as it could get. So yeah.
Larissa, do you have anything to add on that question? You're more than welcome to.
I did want to mention the fact that there's a lot of free resources out there beyond LinkedIn Learning. I actually finished a certificate from Google in project management. It usually costs money, and I highly recommend not spending any money on any sort of professional development, because Coursera offered it through the California Public Library for free. So if any of you guys are on LinkedIn, I do have a link I can send you to go directly onto the free site for Coursera. The project management certificate took me about 3-4 months to complete, but it's completely self-paced, and you can do it on your own time. It's online. And once you finish it, you have a verifiable certificate that you can put on your resume. So I did want to bring that up just because I feel like it has gave me a little bit more of a competitive edge, at least for project management. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up.
Larissa, I will definitely be contacting you on LinkedIn soon.
Yeah.
You will hear from me soon.
Okay.
Larissa, here's another question for you. What was your, and I know this is going to sound bad, but what was your biggest mistake when applying for jobs? Was it interviews? Was it anything with your resume? What did you feel not prepared as a recent grad?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I feel like my biggest fluke was probably, it was an interview I had before the project coordinator position. It was for memorial care. And my issue was that I didn't practice for the interview. I wasn't really sure what they would ask me, but in the process of the interview, my biggest mistake was, aside from not having a plan, was just going on and on and on. And then I know like when they, at least in school, they teach you, okay, use the SMART method, results, things like that. I didn't follow that. And unfortunately, I didn't mention a very good result at the end of my little spiel. I don't know what happened there, but because I was so underprepared, I could tell, okay, this did not go well. I was really upset about it. And that actually motivated me to practice a lot more for the project coordinator interview, because I knew that one was going to be a lot bigger and scarier. And actually, because I was more prepared, it wasn't as scary, despite the fact that I had 2 medical directors sitting in on the interview. But because I was so prepared, it went really, really well. So when I say prepare, I say prepare verbally, even if it's like in front of a person, if it's like to your computer. Having that verbal practice, all of your words will come out more smoothly, and you'll remember what to say. You'll remember the SMART method. You'll remember what exactly it is that you want to share with the interviewer, because when you don't practice, it falls apart. And I'm sure you probably have experienced this in school too, when you have your presentations, you don't practice, and then you either go too short, too long, you don't say the right information. So I was preparing a lot for my interview. I was practicing like 30 minutes to an hour a day, just verbally answering common interview questions. So definitely do that. I do have another tool that I want to bring up. It's called Interview Warmup with Grow with Google. I think it's a free resource. What it does, it records your answer to an interview question, and then it either gives you feedback or you can replay it and see like, okay, maybe I can change this up a bit. But I'm gonna drop that in the chat. Hopefully.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what your advice is for tonight is being prepared. You having that resume on hand just when that opportunity arises, you being prepared for that meeting and really preparing for it. So I think that is a big takeaway, at least for me, is try your darndest to always be prepared.
Yeah.
Glad, do you have any comment on that?
No, I love that. I definitely prepared in front of a mirror and talked to myself through all the other interviews I've gone through. So I definitely agree with Larissa.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both. And I know we're kind of leading into this already, but what are professional or what are professional resources did you guys utilize to grow in your positions? We touched on it a lot, LinkedIn, the Google Hero, or but other resources like that. But what are some other ones that you think will be beneficial?
So I'm just gonna drop the California Public Library link to Coursera real quick.
Coursera, that's what it was.
Yeah, it's Coursera. There's a lot on there. I'm also completing one in data analytics. That's a good one, but there's a lot on there, and especially because it's free through the public library, I think until September. Definitely take advantage of it while you can, because these are, things you could put on your resume. And I'm trying to think of other things I've been taking advantage of at the moment. A lot of companies, they actually offer free resources to professional development as well. United Health Group, for example, they do tuition reimbursement for a certain amount. They also have like a lot of internal learning resources. So even like smaller organizations, I'm sure they have access to some sort of like internal site that are just for employees. So definitely look into that.
Yeah. Glad, anything to add?
Nope, nothing to add. I think Larissa has all the deets with free resources, so that's great for sharing. And definitely, I agree. UHG, United Health Group, as the company that we're part of, there's definitely a lot of internal resources. So that's always nice to have and nice to take advantage of if you can. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And now I will leave the floor open for any questions from the students. Do you guys have any? If you guys don't have access to the mic, please put them in the chat. Any questions are welcome.
I think as everyone's puckering up the courage to ask questions, you know, I'll put myself here to say to definitely feel free to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, and so if you haven't made a LinkedIn, make one already, and feel free to connect with me there. And if you know, I'm very open to kind of making time to sit down one-on-one if there's some of you that are interested in a deeper talk of how my career path went. You know, I'm happy to do that for this group.
Glad and Larissa, do you guys have a way of communicating besides LinkedIn, a professional email or anything like that? Some students are wanting to see if they can contact you personally.
I wouldn't mind dropping my email. I'll go ahead and put it in the chat. That'd be my easiest contact.
Alrighty, and Mary, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Actually, if this pertains to working in customer service, so maybe Vlad could help me out with this one. But so right now, like I have years of experience in hospitality, and I'm just trying to find a way how I can connect that on like a resume. Because I mean, I definitely have the people skills, you know, and the communication skills and stuff. So I'm just trying to see like how my strength within working hospitality for all these years, like what I can take over into healthcare administration.
That's a great question. Thanks, Mary. And I think this deserves kind of its own conversation, but definitely taking a look at what is the job that you're applying for, and then being able to not just put literally everything that you've done on your resume, but making sure that what you're putting speaks to the job or the role that you're applying for that makes you stand out or be a good fit candidate. So again, it's all that self-reflection and okay, what is this looking like? And am I supposed to put this skill on my resume for this job? Maybe not, maybe yes. So I hope that's making sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
And then I believe Daisy has a question. Would you say that you need your master's?
Maybe that's for me too. I went back. So there's a reason why I decided to go back. And this is really just timing, right? But I will say, I gave myself a personal deadline of 5 years to go back. Some people probably said, okay, you have to go back immediately. But what I learned from this experience of just working first is it's made me really solidify the choice that, yes, I do want to stay in healthcare. Yes, I do want to take an MHA versus an MBA versus a MPH versus something else. And so that really depends on how your career path goes and how that fits for you as you start going, getting jobs. So yes, there are leaders out there in the world that, have no masters. I mean, look at Mark Zuckerberg, but there will always be a reason every now and then, or for some, for you to decide, okay, this master's you think is what's going to take you at the next step of your career journey. So yeah, so it's it depends answer.
And this is a follow-up question to the master's. Did you find any companies that are willing to pay for your master's? And again, I know that is always it depends scenario.
Yeah, so luckily the place where I'm at does have a stipend or tuition reimbursement. Doesn't pay for all of it, but a little bit is nice. And so that's always nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I can add on to that too. I don't have a master's and I have considered it in the past, but I'm actually not sure I want to get an MHA or maybe even move on to other industries. But I do have colleagues that do have a master's and do the same role as I do. But if regards to pay, it's still very variable. They only make a little bit more than me, but I don't want to discourage anyone. I don't want you guys to think that the master's is not necessary. I just want to reiterate that you should really feel for sure that you want to do it, because I was in that boat where I thought, I kind of want to do it and I kind of don't want to do it. And I'm kind of just floating right now. I'm kind of at a pause. I don't think I'm going to do it anytime soon. UHG, I believe they have that tuition reimbursement. It's not the full amount, but it's a pretty good amount, especially if it's for something that you want to pursue within Optum United Health Group. And then I see a question about the culture at Optum. I personally really like it. They have a lot of value in inclusivity, diversity, and overall employee engagement, and just like having a good overall work-life balance. We actually celebrate Culture Week every April, and it's just to celebrate all of the hard work that we've done, and it's a really good time. So I personally think it's a good fit, at least for my standards. And then I see there's a question about a minor. I don't have one, but I know a lot of classmates in my year, they pursued one in information systems and finance, HR. They said that helped them a lot, but that's because that was the focus that they for sure wanted to do. Someone like me that's still kind of up in the air with what to do. I personally didn't pursue a certificate or a minor, but if it's like for sure, like I for sure want to do HR, go for it.
Glad, anything to add?
No, that was a nice reminder that Culture Week is coming up soon.
Yeah, it's coming up soon.
No, that was all good.
So Daisy actually brings up a bit of it's an interesting question, because you always are a little afraid to ask, but what would you say the pay looks like for a job right after your bachelor's degree?
I did not. Okay, so let me start with California law now, it requires that pay ranges are displayed on job resumes. So that helps clarify that whole smoke screen for a lot of you. I didn't have that. You had to like go through all the steps and then finally, oh, you're paying me this much. But definitely it really depends on the company, the size, and a lot of other factors. Starting salary grade, a lot of things are dictated by the market. So market pay kind of dictates that. I will say, value research and find that number or that range that you think is your value, and that will usually help dictate what your pay is, rather than just receiving it. It needs to be a negotiation. Yeah.
Thank you. Larisa, anything to add?
Yeah, so it really depends on what the role is. I actually started way lower as a temp to hire. I was only making, I totally don't mind discussing numbers. I was making about 18-ish, which to me, I think is a little bit low for someone with a degree. I think people with a bachelor's degree should be pursuing like 20 and above. Luckily, when I was hired on permanently, there was a bump in my pay. So I would say it pretty much matched the market value and the company value of what a project coordinator should be getting paid. So don't sell yourself short, know your worth. And that's also kind of one of the reasons I'm looking to move up, because I've learned so much and I want to take it on to the next level. So yeah, 6 figures is not realistic. Some people get really lucky out of college, working in like really big health tech firms and things like that. But don't sell yourself short, and don't beat yourself up if you're not making what you think you should be making. I'm perfectly fine discussing salary if anyone that wants to discuss that. I'm actually practicing negotiation tactics for I want to get a new role. So if anyone else is in the same boat, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email.
Yeah, thank you both for your time, your experience, and your knowledge. We as healthcare administration and UPD really appreciate you guys for coming out on a Friday night. Thank you guys. Thank you both. Thank you, Carissa. Hope she's doing well. Hope she has her got home safely. And thank you everyone who came out to the second general meeting. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night.